Hello and welcome to another edition of 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers and F-Series, the best-selling truck in America for 48 years and the official truck of the Boston Red Sox. Tom Caron and Alex Speier with you on a road trip.
Here we are, on location.
On location. First time for 310 to Left? I think it is.
Non-Fenway? I feel
Right.
like
Well,
that's,
yeah,
that's
fair.
true.
That's
yeah,
fair.
unless
Those
we
are
count
home
like
games.
the Polar Park visits, but
That's
you
true,
and I
too.
are never there together.
No, that's true. So here we are together at the David Ortiz golf tournament. Coming up, we'll talk a whole lot more about that. They had the Soiree of Hearts Casino night last night. I got to MC that, which is why I'm a little hoarse today, because just being in the sphere of influence of David Ortiz leads one to lose their immunity and get run down and be dealing with that for. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
But look at you, still hosting capably.
bright
Yeah.
and more. Huge celebrities everywhere, like the great Lenny Clarke, the actor and comedian. Lenny, come on over here.
Hey, you were terrific last night.
thank you.
You really were.
Yeah.
Hey, Lenny,
You
good
were
to
also
see
telling
you.
me you have memory issues, so maybe you don't remember much of what I did last night. I mean, that seems fair.
I remember you saying you'd be with golfers and others.
You and I are the others. Here we are.
Yeah, oh, I sure am. You're better than me, though. Hi, everybody. Hey, Nessim, love you.
Hey, Lenny, coming here with David Ortiz, like Papi is, you've been around this stuff forever. He's a different breed.
Oh, man, he's one of a kind. He's one in a lifetime. And to be at Brayburn, man, they never let me on here any other way. Are you kidding me? I remember the small fire I started on 8 last year. But this is a nice day, nice cause, saving kids' lives.
See? How you doing these days?
Yeah, I had another stroke, but other than that, I'm...
Recovering well?
Yeah, well, thank the Mass General. God love the Mass General. They've kept me alive. And, 2 heart attacks, 2 strokes, and yet, here I am.
It's like you're entering Keith Richards territory, I feel now. You're indestructible.
I'm a miracle of modern science. I hope I took my pills. I forget.
You better go check.
Yeah. When I was a kid, it was drugs.
Monday,
Now
it's
that I'm older,
Monday.
it's medication.
Kids, it was drugs, now it's medication.
God pulled me over. You have any drugs? I go, look at this. He said, what are all those for?
But they're in a little box, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know which ones to take.
And I screw that up too. I never used to forget to take the drugs, but medication sometimes I'm a bit off. So I'll go and take whatever I have to now.
Less
Lenny,
exciting.
I got to ask you real quick. I mean, we've been around these guys, but you get to come do these things for years. You've been doing with the athletes. Yeah. How cool is it for you, a guy who grew up here, such a great fan, to be around these guys all the
Are
time?
you kidding me? This is like better than dreams. I didn't even have dreams like this. This is incredible. Beautiful courses, wonderful athletes, great people like yourselves. It's a wonderful day. And if you're not here, you should be here. And if not, throwing us something for the kids. We're saving lives.
There you go. He's saving lives. Thank you, Lenny.
Thank you.
Clip that.
Lenny
That's
Clarke?
the promo. That's the great Lenny Clarke. See, it's going to be like that.
Just rolling right through.
Just rolling with the punches, because it's David Ortiz, and you and I both know, of all the athletes that have rolled through here, especially on the Red Sox side, in the last 20 years, let's say, there are few that resonate with as many different groups as David Ortiz does.
Yeah.
I've always said, like, he can walk in a room full of CEOs and bond with them, and then turn around and go down the hall to a 5th grade group and bond with them. He's a unique individual.
Absolutely incredible. The ability, the interpersonal relatability, the authenticity, and just genuine warmth that he feels towards humans is it resonates, right? It's part of the reason why he was known as such an incredible clubhouse presence. It was always interesting to me to watch David walking in. He was invariably into the clubhouse. He was invariably on the phone with players from other teams. Like every day, his Rolodex basically included literally every player in Major League Baseball, and he wanted to check in to see how they were doing on a regular basis. He was up to date on how they were performing, but also what was going on in life. And it wasn't just the players, though. The interest in how people were doing was genuine, and then the genuine empathy for other people that led him to create his foundation, and that just kind of made him such an open, warm person. It's felt, right, and it's something that he believes in very genuinely, and that there's no artifice to it. This is something that is a passion of his, and being being available to people and like understanding the role that he can play to other people is something that means a lot to him. It's pretty cool.
The David Ortiz Children's Foundation has saved more than 1,600 children in the Dominican Republic and here in Boston and New England, providing heart surgeries at no cost for families who can't afford them. We were at the event last night, and just tear-jerking to hear the stories of the lives saved. Children born with heart defects whose families could not save them otherwise. Some of them now teenagers in their 20s there last night, the success stories. But it's a cause that's very near to him because it's a cause that was prevalent in the Dominican Republic, where the medical facilities weren't as readily available and where poverty is a major issue. And he realized he could do a lot of good, and he has done it.
Yeah, I still remember the press conference where he announced the formation of the foundation and the David Ortiz Children's Fund, and and just the genuine emotional investment he had in describing the lack of infrastructure that existed at the time in the Dominican, and what was possible, what he learned was possible with other members of with members of the medical community, what could be accomplished through kind of funneling, using his celebrity for a great cause and for life-changing advances in his native country as well as here. It's pretty remarkable and again, very authentic.
David is obviously here. We hope to talk to him in a little bit and get his thoughts on the current team. Well, I would hope so. But one never knows. David does get pulled in a lot of directions, so I've learned to sort of hedge that without any surety. But we expect to get David Ortiz on the show. We will ask him about this team. Back-to-back wins now as we do this, coming back for the series against the Angels. And, it was a rough road trip, no doubt about that. But Trevor Story with a home run on Friday night, Trevor Story with a first inning bases clearing double on Sunday, and that was enough for Garrett Crochet to be brilliant. I've stopped trying to say, could this be a turning point for this team? Because I've been wrong on every projected turning point so far. But it was a good weekend, so let's see if they can build on that.
Yeah, I learned somewhere in the study of history, there was the great phrase, the turning point that never turned. So we will adopt that mentality to all things that are identified prospectively as turning points. They can only artificially be recognized after the fact. But that's that discourse notwithstanding. It was a good weekend for them in Atlanta, and it was a very necessary weekend for them in Atlanta because what I saw in Milwaukee was it almost forced you to be taken aback. The level of kind of just it was a flattened team in Milwaukee. They had obviously lost Alex Bregman shortly before that, and were still trying to find their footing in the aftermath of Bregman's loss. And then the defeats that were piling up with multiple walk-offs, 5 walk-offs in the month of May, the most since May of 1961. That's a hard thing to stack up, and just the team looked and felt deflated. That clubhouse just didn't have a lot of energy to it in Milwaukee, understandably so. And so to be able to just kind of have that opportunity to breathe. We don't know whether or not that will be a sea changer, but it gives them the opportunity for a sea changing moment.
Another day, another weekend went by without Roman Anthony on the big club. There was a call-up, but it wasn't Roman Anthony.
No.
And they said, we're getting an outfielder, and everybody got excited. Did you see the video in Worcester of Roman Anthony getting snuck out of the clubhouse yesterday? At the end of the trip, they had him in a laundry cart covered with bags, and they rolled him out to the bus. So he was there. We got the video proof. You talked to Craig Breslow. There's been a lot of talk about Craig Breslow in Atlanta when he met with media, just talking about the pressure that is building to get him here. Where do we stand right now with Roman Anthony?
Yeah, well, he's a really, really good prospect who there are a lot of people who feel like he's major league ready. Does that mean like he is a fully formed version of himself? No. There are still things that he can develop in the minor league. So the Red Sox are asking themselves two questions. One, would he be a positive contributor to the major league team? I guess 3 questions. 2, what would his role be if he was brought up, and how would that affect the players around him? And 3, is his development better served in the major leagues or the minor leagues right now? You can make different cases. There are a lot of people who feel strongly that Roman Anthony would be just fine. He has basically done just about everything he can in the minor leagues right now, and that his development would probably be pushed further, faster by playing against a higher level of competition, because right now he looks like he's kind of like a 7-footer playing basketball against 5.5-footers in AAA. He's dominating the level. Craig Breslow has talked about the desire to see him with better success on in-zone fastballs. He has the best xWOBA in minor league, in AAA, on fastballs in the zone. So the idea of being able to take that to a better level, yes, there's some ground balls there, but he's really good. The question of, I don't know the answer of when he's going to be called up. It could be at any time because from a developmental standpoint, he is at a point where you would be comfortable with him up in the major leagues as you and let him finish off the development when he gets here. But the Red Sox obviously want to have a moment where there's going to be a lot of runway for him to play pretty much every day right out of the chute. And so we wait.
We wait, but we will wait no longer to dive into this. Let's go find some celebrities because there are great names here who are going to be golfing. Some poor foursome is going to get stuck with me, but there's other groups that are going to get actual superstars and get to play with them. So we are here at the David Ortiz Golf Tournament 2025 Brayburn Country Club, and not everyone like Lenny Clarke will just crash the party. We have to go find them. So stay with us as we continue on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. All right, the man in the middle of all the craziness here today, David Ortiz, Big Papi back. That'll happen 20 times during this interview where people yell out at him. Papi, you have the big event, the Weekend with Papi down in Florida, but this started up a few years back, and it's really become you've raised a lot of money, saved a lot of lives because of this.
I mean, when it comes down to saving life, doing it for the kids, we create this event with the integrated family. I think it's been 4 or 5 years?
4 years, yeah.
Yeah, so they came out with the idea. I mean, everybody knows their story about their kids. And they had been the number one supporter of this event. And, we had been able to raise good money to continue doing those heart care surgery for the children. And as you know, I mean, the more money you get, the more kids you get to operate. So just happy to be here once again, and thanks to the Grady family, Jessica, her husband. I mean, they has been amazing.
Their daughter Avery was there last night. Looks incredible.
You name it. And look, God bless us with this amazing
I'm telling
day.
you what, we haven't had a sunny day
perfect.
this spring, and Papi shows back up from the West Coast. The sun
I
comes
brought that
out.
weather from the Dominican.
David, you started the foundation work during your playing career. How much was that? Why did you choose the middle of your career as the moment in which to kind of wrap yourself, tie yourself so much into this cause? And how much was that? Was that helpful to you to have that kind of off-field mission in the middle of your playing career for your last decade in Boston?
It was crazy because, as you know, while you're playing, I mean, so many things going on. But
in the meantime,
when people need help,
everybody is welcome to use
there's not a perfect time. All you got to do is just go ahead and try your best at whatever, And I'm glad I started doing it while I was playing, because now it's pretty normal. Like I'm already in it, you know what I'm saying? And I just go by the business. I know I had a busy schedule because I still work a lot. But
yes, you do. We see you in a few commercials. See you on TV a little bit.
I'm all over the place. But when it comes, like I say, when it comes down to helping kids and helping family, I think there's nothing like it.
David, I got to ask you, we talked about the team last night, and it's obviously not the way anyone thought it would go. A couple good wins now in Atlanta. But you and I talked a lot at spring training about Rafael Devers and how the move to DH was handled. Now first base gets opened up, and he's in the middle of all that. Take us through what you think's going on in Rafi's head right now, and how, when you're asked to move, you were a guy who became such a great DH. And early on, you didn't love it, right? You wanted to stay out on the field. But then you got to realize, once you realized the routine, you could go longer, you could be better. I know you had conversations with Rafi back in spring training. Just sort of take us through the whole process, what this season has been like for Rafi.
I think with Rafi, it's going to be a memorable time. He's doing absolutely great as a DH, which is what the team wants. But at some point, he's going to mature and he's going to understand that when it comes down to be a part of a club, you got to be all in, and I know it's a very premature situation because everything is starting in spring training when You know, they had to move him out of third base. They basically asked him to be a DH, and all of a sudden, you know, the first base situation shows up. But I think he's gonna mature and he's gonna get quiet there. I mean, he's doing phenomenal as a DH. I thought he was gonna have a hard time, but the guy is a pure hitter, you know, and because DH and it's not as easy as people think it is. When you are not hitting, in your mind you're thinking, man, I suck, you know what I'm saying? And you sometimes try to go to the plate and try to get 4 hits in one at bat. That's the mentality as a designator here that take place, and people don't understand that. He's leading the league in RBIs right now. I mean, what else can you ask him? You know, so I don't want more drama creating in between Rafi and the team, this and that, asking him things that he probably gonna take some time for him to agree on. And hopefully, you know, it happens soon, because I think I in the spring training I thought about him, you know, switching over and playing some first base combined with Casas. You know, Casas gets some time off not time off. He goes as a DH. You come and play first base just to get, because in my mind, I think he can be a hell of a first baseman. In my mind, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if it was the way he was asked about being a DH that kind of, you know, got in his mind. Okay, I'm not gonna use my glove anymore. I don't know. But hopefully he understands that at some point, him being a first base and having some of the guys DH, you know, whatever, it might be a great idea. It might make us look better as a team.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because like you mentioned the part about routine and the difficulty of being a DH, right? So he spends the first month of the season trying to identify his routine. He's still taking ground balls at third base during that time. Then May comes around. He stops taking ground balls before the game. Like, it seems like he's settled into that routine in terms of pregame stuff, how to prepare himself to be a DH, and hitting, as you said. Like, I think this is the best version of Rafael Devers that I've ever seen as a hitter, right? And so you wonder whether or not that's paired with the ability to just focus on the offensive side of things. How difficult is it to kind of turn the dials on your routine? Like, I mean, you went through it occasionally where, you know, interleague would come around and it's like, okay, David, grab the glove again. Like, you know, find it somewhere in your locker and let's go. Is it difficult to restructure the routine based on DH, first base, DH? You know, get the glove out. How does that work?
In my case, I wanna just help. I listen. A lot of people, I remember, used to be concerned about, oh, we're going to play the World Series at National League. Papi gonna have to play first base. I live in my own bubble. I was the type of guy, and I still the type of guy that I like to put up with any type of challenge in my life. Mm-hmm. You know, like, but that was me. That's the way I was built. You know what I'm saying? And whatever I was told by the Red Sox, anything that they asked me for, I was down with. Because, I don't know, I think I just feel like I have that commitment with the fans. And it was an honor for me being able to go out there and play first base once in a while. I want to try my best. I want to give my best out there, you know what I'm saying? And I know the team and my teammates respect that. You know what I'm saying? Because those are some things that as a player sometimes you don't realize when you are in a mix. You don't understand the importance of having your teammates back, or the importance of collaborate any type of way. It doesn't matter, because when people see you trying, it's different than when you just whatever, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So in my case, that's how it was. I feel like I have to do those things, and I was comfortable with it, you know. But on the defense of Rafi, remember, we are trying to rotate him in a 3 different area, you know what I'm saying? And he was a guy that all he know was third base. So I think we have to give him some time. He's doing great at where we want him. We don't want to mess that up. We don't want to, I guess, at some point he will realize that I don't know if he's working at first base right now. I think he should practice there until he feel comfortable. And if he see that the team needs him or the team is better with him at first base, just go for it. You're the face of this franchise right now.
Papi, I'll ask you finally. The team obviously is struggling overall. We expected more coming out of spring training, but you lose Bregman. They already lost Casas. When you look at this team, do you still see a playoff team here with the group?
I think we gotta, probably go out there and get something to get us in a better shape, because this American League is no joke. You can be just losing game, especially against teams that are not that good, to be able to survive. In this division, you have to bury the bad teams so you can compete with the good teams, so you get to be able to survive and play in October. If you don't do that, once you pass the All-Star game, you're gonna look back and you'll be like, well, I guess it's gonna be next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we gotta keep it up. I saw my man pitched amazing yesterday for us.
Crochet.
Yeah, Crochet is just like, oof. He was nasty yesterday. 12K, huh?
And you hate to waste a guy like that, right? They're one game above 500 when he starts.
That's
you got to
right.
win those games when he's
You have
pitching
to.
like that.
You have to.
Yeah. All right, Papi, there's about 30 people waiting for you. David Ortiz, we appreciate it as always, my
The
friend.
best. Thanks, David.
That's a great David Ortiz joining us here on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. We'll come back in a moment with the legend himself, the Brock star, Brock Holt. Stay with us on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. Welcome back. I said he was a legend, and that's high praise indeed. But all true, no lies detected. The Brock star, Brock Holt, back in town, co-chair of the Jimmy Fund, and doing an amazing job here for the Scooper Bowl. You and I are gonna. Is there like a ceremonial first scoop?
First scoop.
Is that what we do?
I think I feed you and you feed
like
and you feed me. I think it's how it goes.
And people will
The
just,
linked arms.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I like
we'll
that.
interlock
We'll
arms,
it.
yeah.
I think the kids should do it. I think Griff and Rip should get the first
They're
scoop.
probably going to be feeding themselves, I'm sure.
Oh, I've been knee-deep in
yeah,
that scoop when we get
I'm
there.
sure that's what's going to happen.
Back in town for a few things. You're here today for this. You're here for the Jimmy Fund tomorrow, working with the Red Sox now. Talk a little about Brock Star retirement life.
It's great. It's I'm in Nashville with the boys. I'm coaching baseball.
You got a team.
I got starting a team. Yeah, starting a team. Griff's finally to the age where he's going to be kid pitching and stuff, which it's crazy to think about. And we're diving head first. We go from coach pitch to now the kids are going to be pitching to each other and also leading off and stealing bases, which I don't know how that's going to how that's going to work. But
The answer is with chaos. It's going to be total chaos.
it's going to be chaos, yeah, but we're going to have a good time. I enjoy being out there with the kids, and Griff and Ripken both are really into it right now. So, it's going to be fun for me to be out there and be able to help however I can and kind of coach them the fundamentals and hopefully they want to keep doing it and we'll see what happens.
So I've thought about you a lot over the course of this season because,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Hey, thank you.
we always think about Brock.
I have not, just to be clear.
So the idea of position changes and shape shifting and what you do as you get ready for try to forge your way into big league opportunities. How much? I think there was this conversation. Anyone can play first base after Tristan Casas goes down. This idea that if you are a baseball player, you're a baseball player, and you can adapt anywhere on the diamond. You take someone like a Kristian Campbell, who had 1 year at Georgia Tech, 1 year of one full year of minor league baseball. Okay, let's throw him around to all kinds of places. He's already played 3 positions, looking for a 4th. Do we? You were really good at doing that, right? Obviously. Do we take for granted the difficulty of the responsibilities of positions all over the field, particularly maybe first base?
Yeah, I think, for me, first base it's a position where I thought, before I played it, it's like, yeah, anybody can go over there and stand on the base and catch the ball, right? But there's a lot of little, nuances within the position and like where you're playing, footwork around the bag, how throws are coming in. So it was, we got a drone overhead right now. You hear that?
That's Griff's.
Yeah. But first base was a difficult one for me to jump into, just because, whenever you're not used to being over there were times when, I was playing first, and if I'm over at third, a ground ball's hit to second, I'm just kind of watching the play, and I had to remind myself, like, oh shoot, I gotta. They're throwing me the ball, I gotta
move.
Yeah, and then with cutoffs and everything like that. But for me, Kristian's an athlete, right? I think it's going to take time, especially with how young he is. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of time to feel comfortable at these different positions. And for me, I was the guy that had to do it, to be able to stick around. And I wanted to stick around as long as I could. So when they asked me if I could play a different position, I said yes, and I went for it, So thankfully, I was athletic enough to do it, and I got to the point where I really loved it. I really loved being able to move around and play. You see the game from different positions, and it's not so monotonous. I'm not just taking ground balls at one spot. I'm moving around. I'm playing right field one game, and then I'm playing third the next, and the game's different from different spots. It looks different, so it was a blast for me. I'm rooting for Kristian. I know he's kind of going through it right now, but I think once he gets comfortable and he finds his place and kind of gets in his routine, he'll be just fine.
Well, so let's talk about that, because as Wally crashed the party, I told you. Well, Tessie might as well get over here too. There we go. Here, go, Wally.
Everyone
go. Yeah, there you
welcome.
go. There's a photo op right there. It's a podcast though, and you guys can't talk. So they're really not the best guests for us at the moment. Thank you.
All right, see you later.
That was that.
Signing?
It is. That's a great question. Do they sign? It's one thing to say, hey, we need you a couple nights over at first base. Another thing to start carrying the outfield, the infield, the first base mitt with you every day. And you talked about Kristian going through it, right? Great April. Now the adjustments that pitchers are making to him, and the cat and mouse game of a major league life. So you're trying to get yourself back together at the plate, but now you're doing multiple positions. How hard is that when I'm not just doing this for a week till a guy gets back from the IL. This is my life now. I may be bouncing around. Rafaela did it last year, shortstop to center field. Tell us about the challenges of keeping the offensive part of the game sharp while so many other defensive challenges are being thrown at you.
Yeah, and I don't want to speak for Kristian, but I think whenever you're going through a little bit of an offensive slump, and then you're also being thrown into these new defensive positions, I think it's not going to be beneficial for you coming out of that slump, right? Because there's a lot of work pregame, of thinking about my defense, of thinking about where I'm playing. You're learning a new position. You've got a lot of things going through your mind, and then obviously, you got to be able to go up and let all that go and step into the box and be able to hit. So I think it's tough timing right now. I think Kristian Campbell is a good enough athlete to do it. And like I said, rooting for him every step of the way, and would love to be able to help however I can if he had any questions or anything like that. But I think for him, especially this early in his career, learning the big leagues, the pitchers now making adjustments on him, and him having to learn all this other stuff. I think that can affect your offensive ability, and I think there's a lot of probably stuff going on in his head that that we don't know about, just from him trying to learn new positions and figure out what what his role is. So I like I said, I think he's athletic enough to do it. And I don't know if that's the plan, if they want him to be the guy that moves around. You'd like to have maybe, when I was on the team, it was me, right?
Yep.
We had guys who played their positions, right, and then you had one guy that would give a guy a day off here, give a guy a day off there. I think that's probably the approach you want. You don't want a lot of guys moving around and not playing one position. But Kristian Campbell's a good enough athlete to do it, and like I said, we're rooting for him, and I think he'll be just fine.
You also were someone who took ground balls at third base with Rafael Devers. The question looms about Alex Cora has dismissed the idea of him playing third base again this year. He has not closed the door on first base. Defensively, like in terms of defensive attributes, what do you see from Devers? What do you think he could be at first base if that was something that he and the Red Sox decided to try?
I think Devers could play first base. I'm probably going to get killed for saying this, but
attention, please. Would all celebrities please meet at the
You're a celebrity.
Is that me?
You're gonna call.
All right, well,
That's how you and me.
Celebrity call.
You're with me.
Let me get this
You
point
hear
across
that? As
first.
quick as they said celebrity, he's tuned in.
Right up for a group photo right now.
Hold on.
We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Finish the thought.
Yes.
All celebrities
You can go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right.
It's a good microphone.
I'm probably going to get killed for saying this, but I wouldn't touch Devers right now with the way he's swinging it. Right, like he's figured it out. He's got his routine, and he's been one of the best hitters in baseball since his start. Right. I think, you can find someone to play first and to play third until Bregman gets back. Obviously, Meyer, I think, is going to be great. I'm a huge fan of Marcelo Meyer, but I wouldn't touch Devers. I'd let him keep hitting the way he's hitting and kind of build around that.
Well, you didn't touch Ortiz, right? Because he was so good there.
Yep.
You knew he could play first base.
Yep.
But why would you mess with that production? You're getting that level of production. All right, you're a celebrity. You've been called to duty. I'll go along and be there as well. Brock Holt. See you at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All right.
See you there. Can't
hey,
wait.
City
Celebrity
Hall Plaza.
Brock Holt.
So Celebrity Brock Holt will be serving ice cream at City Hall Plaza Tuesday, and I'll be there as well. So join us if you can. But Brock, always great to see you. That's Brock Holt. We'll keep rolling here at the David Ortiz Children's Fun Charity Golf Tournament, Brayburn Country Club in Newton. It's on 310 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. All right, it's a rare series off. Jim Rice isn't working with me in studio, so we got to have him on. Jim, you're here to golf, though.
Yeah.
And I always say, any tournament that I see that you're in, that is the team that's expected to win. So what's it like handling that pressure?
No, but you and I are the same. We work. Half these guys here are not working, they're retired. I have not retired, so my golf game is not where I want it to be. But still, it's for charity. I'm going to have a good time.
Where's it at? Where's your golf? What's your handicap right now, today?
Probably about a 6.
Yeah. Whoa, for you.
Yeah. I don't play. Partner, we work.
I know. But still, I hate that he's a 6.
Well, the Jim Rice action figure is as a baseball player. It is not as a golfer, I'm afraid. But we're going to work on that. That's the goal.
I'm definitely going to work on it because, I'm retired, but I'm not retired.
Yeah.
So when you retire, what do you do?
Active retirement.
Yeah.
Supposed to golf nonstop.
You play golf and you go down slides.
I don't go down slides. He goes down slides. Jim, I got to ask you, just real quickly about this team. We've talked so much about things you've said about the shortening of the two-strike swing and the approach. And so many fans now are rallying around your concepts that, old school can still work if you can bring it at the right time. Talk a little about what you see in this team and what they need to do to lower the strikeouts.
You don't have any home run hitters. I mean, you may have 2 guys, maybe 3 guys may hit 20, 25, but they may strike out 160 times, thing like that. You got to put the ball in play. And I always say this, before you walk, you got to crawl. You got to get a base hit before you get a home run. And then if you think about getting 3 hits out of 10 times at bat, that's 300. Now, out of those 3 hits, how many are going to be home runs? How many times are you going to leave a guy in scoring position with no outs? How many times are you going to leave a guy in scoring position with third base, or you go to extra innings and you at home and you're not advancing a runner? Something's wrong there.
Which players do you see especially where where you like the pre-2-strike approach, but you're like, just give me a different swing, give me a more adaptable swing with 2 strikes?
Well, only when you got your third baseman, he's hurt right now. He's showing up. Those are the things that you think about. When you have 2 strikes, you choke up. Johnny Pesci always told me, say, hey, want you to choke up with 2 strikes. I said, Johnny, why not choke up with no strike, especially when you got in scoring position? You don't want to go to the end of the year and say, well, I had 99 RBIs, I put 100, round it off a little bit, things like that. And those are the things that you want to do. Sometimes you have to give yourself up. But when you're talking about those 3 out of 10 times, those 7 times got to be productive. Those 7 times you're talking about being productive is hitting the ball to the right side, hitting the ball in the air, doing small things that help the team win the ball game. If you look at our pitch yesterday, we probably go out and tell them, say, hey, I only need 3 runs. And what happened? Wins the ball game.
Got them in the first inning, they win the ball game. All right, before we let you go here, you've seen me play just enough to know how bad I am. Give me one tip to take on the course today.
One tip is always try to keep the first ball in play. Use any club.
If I could do that, I'd be better. I know that.
What's your favorite club?
3-wood.
Hit your 3-wood.
I know.
Hit your 3-wood.
I know, but it's fun when you hit the driver.
It's a scramble now, so you just go ahead and hit your driver.
You're going to hit the driver.
Well,
and then next time you play, you're all messed up because you've been swinging out of your backside.
Well, this is not on the air. We're going to take this off the air. When in doubt, do a Trevino situation. It's going to be a little hot today. Just take your driver, put it across your forehead.
I knew you get a little Vaseline on the face.
Put a little chapstick and you'll be all right.
Oh, chapstick on the face.
Play hard as you can.
Jim knows. He never cheated in baseball, but, he's got
some tricks.
All right, go hit him straight, partner.
All right, buddy. Got you.
Hall of Famer Jim Rice with us on 310 to left, presented by your New England Ford dealers. So Jim's been pretty consistent for years, really, but especially this year about players shortening the approach on 2 strikes. And, You know, it's interesting, right? Because Trevor Story had a good weekend, and he desperately needed one. And there were conversations people had with him over the weekend that I heard the takeaway was like, he's just going to try to stop thinking, like analysis to paralysis. I'm just go out, see ball, hit ball a little bit, right? Which was kind of what Jim has always said. You know, Steve Lyons used to always say, no brain, no headache. Don't overthink it. Go up. And sometimes you have to go back to that. And it seems like maybe Story has done that. If he can build on that foundation, that would be hugely important for this team to get his right-handed power bat.
Yeah, it was obviously, right? They had 2 wins in no small part because Trevor Story found his offensive footing for the first time in a while. He talked to me in Milwaukee about the fact that he felt like the quality of his plate appearances was improving through this approach. He talked about being external, meaning like there are 2 different components to being a hitter. One of them is your swing. The other one is hitting, right? The act of competing against the opposing pitcher rather than thinking through the technical aspects of what you're doing with your swing. And you'll hear hitters kind of wanting to swing the dials between those two. And Story is like, I am going all external right now. I need to think entirely about what my team needs from me right now. I need to think about competing in the box. Like, do we need me to move over the runner? We saw it a little bit in Milwaukee where, shocker of shockers, he dropped his first sacrifice bunt since his rookie season of 2016, which was actually, that's kind of giving up ego entirely as a hitter, right? When you are just kind of literally not literally, but the sacrifice has a layered meaning to it, and that's what he did in that last game in Milwaukee. And maybe it's not surprising that kind of served as a prelude to him having some of his best swings since mid-April over the course of that series in Atlanta. But we also saw how significant that impact can be if they get Trevor Story as a right-handed bat who can deliver some thump.
But it's funny, when you talk to Jim or you talk to old school guys, they'll tell you, not that Jim did a lot of sacrifice bunting, I think he did it twice in his career, but sometimes the simple act of bunting, getting the bat on the ball, sometimes a hit and run, something where you're just thinking about contact versus finishing a swing and doing something special can sort of get you back to basics. Is that the turning point? Well, we began this whole thing by talking about only later can we look back.
Is it the turning point that doesn't turn again?
Well, maybe it's the turning point that does turn this time around,
it could
right?
be.
So it was a much-needed weekend for Trevor Story and for the Red Sox as far as Trevor Story goes. And let's hear what he had to say about it over the course of the weekend. Trevor Story in Atlanta. Jahmai Webster obviously was down there as our reporter. Here's what Trevor Story said about his weekend on 310 to Left, presented by your New England Ford dealers.
All right, thank you. Well, Trevor, the offense came out right away. What did you like about some of those early at-bats against Elder to get you guys going?
Yeah, that was the plan. We're going to make him work. We know he's got a...
Throwing gunman.
I know, it's JD. We did good, man. We kind of strung some at-bats together. Marcelo with a big walk to get me up in a big spot. And, just kind of put a nice swing on a good pitch to hit.
You had a tough May, but you come out here as the calendar changes to June. You go 2 for 3 with that 3 RBI double. Lou talked about it on the telecast. How much does the calendar switching kind of give you a mental reset and allow you to get back to where you want it to be?
Yeah, definitely. You're looking for little things like that to create some momentum, What's in the past is in the past. We can't harp on that, but we can learn from it. And I think going forward, just trying to be the best athlete I can, keep it simple. Less is more for me a lot of times, so that's what we're dialed into right now.
And defensively, how nice was it to help Chapman steal a hit there away in the ninth?
Yeah, man. Chappie's been nails for us all season, so we don't get much action, but when we do, it's good to come through right there. But balls on the ground, man, we expect to make them outs, and that's just how that's the attitude of our defense.
Not much action with the starter as well. Another gem by Garrett Crochet. How do you describe what it's like to play behind him every 5 days?
It's amazing, man. He sets the tone for us as a ball club, as a staff. He goes out there and lets it rip, and not much action, like you said. I told him that, and that's okay. He's punching out 10-plus, it feels like, every night and setting the tone for us. So every time he pitches, man, I love our chances to win.
Yeah, 12 strikeouts today, big night, win the series here in Atlanta. Trevor, thanks so much.
All right, thanks, bro.
So great stuff. We'll see, but Bregman's going to be gone for a while. Kristian Campbell is working on figuring out some things. The right-handed power, the right-handed at-bats need to come from somewhere. It's got to start with Trevor Story.
He seems like the one who, as a veteran, is in a position. He has the established production level in the course of his career to be that guy. And again, we've seen what the Thunder can look like. We saw it at the beginning of the season as well. That's one of the reasons why there is some reassurance with regards to Trevor Story, because in those first 3 weeks of the season, he was impacting the ball in a way that we certainly didn't get a chance to see in 2023 or 2024. So it went away for those 6 weeks, but now maybe it's coming back, and that would be a huge, huge difference maker for the Red Sox.
No doubt about that. You can hear the announcements going on behind us. We are getting close to golf time, and I'm going to have to go out and golf in a couple of minutes. But for now, we have the Angels in town. David Ortiz said, you got to beat up on the bad teams. And the Angels had a bit of a run, but now they're back to being what we thought, even though Mike Trout is back. And he came back a little earlier than expected. So the Angels are a team that you should win a series against at home. Then you get the Yankees, 6 of your next 9 games. The next 2 weeks may tell us a whole lot about what this team is going to do as you get towards the trade deadline in July.
Yeah, although the level of competition we sometimes overstate, right? Last year, the Red Sox run, we thought they were dead in the water in mid-June because it was like, oh, you just got through the first 2.5 months of the season as a 500 team, and then all of a sudden it was against the Phillies, against the Yankees, that they really kind of had that surge that made everyone think, wait a second, this has a chance to be a playoff team that's taking that next step forward. So that can be that's an opportunity too. The fact that it is a higher degree of difficulty can be the thing that serves as the impetus for a team kind of reassessing exactly where it is and where it's going. But you're right, Tom. There is no time to waste for them to start being something other than a below 500 team, because if you look at they are thin. They're a thinner team, and so the ability to have that sustained run that's well over 500, to be able to overcome a slow start, you cannot waste time, because your ability to react to that, to respond to that, is more finite.
They're thin in middle relief now, especially, right? Liam Hendricks, who never really found his footing, but he's now on the injured list. Justin Slayton, who become really important, is now on the IL. Sunday afternoon, Weissert came in. He was the bridge, but you got 7 out of the starter. You haven't gotten, forget 7. You haven't gotten 6. You've rarely gotten 5 from the starting pitchers. Now more than ever, that will not be sustainable. So I'll flip it. You talk about being thin in middle relief. More than ever now, they need to start getting some length out of their starting rotation.
Yeah, it's, the number of 4 2/3 innings starts has been staggering. Entering Sunday, they had 9, which was most in the big leagues. And that is a formula for an overtaxed bullpen. That's all been coming in high leverage situations. So it's not been like low stress situations in a lopsided game. It's all been, the game is on the line with every pitch. And at a certain point, that takes a toll. Slayton being on the injured list is perhaps an indicator of that. One significant development for the Red Sox is that with Richard Fitz returning to health, then you have the opportunity to use Hunter Dobbins in a multi-innings role, which, that does have kind of dominoes where it can give the bullpen a chance to reset, because they really, really need that, with Garrett Whitlock not having been able to solidify himself as that 6 to 9 outs guy this year.
All right, there it is. So you're going into this stretch of a lot of Yankee games beginning Friday night in the Bronx, and you're going to have to shore up first the rotation to get longer, then the bullpen to
and the right-handed bats. So
other than that, we feel the turning point that hasn't turned yet is about to turn. Maybe
it could.
This was good stuff. I'm going to golf.
Well,
You're
I'll
going
watch.
to the ballpark.
Yeah, I'll heckle you.
Are you staying here?
Maybe, so I can just yell at you and Jim.
See, I didn't have them do this, but I'm starting on the 10th hole, so it'll be 2 hours before I get over here. So. Where's the 10th hole? Does anybody know?
That's pretty awesome.
Do you know? I'm asking tags.
Where's the 19th?
This is the first. It's a beautiful course, by the way.
It's gorgeous. Beautiful day, beautiful course.
I crushed last year one of my best drives all summer. Put it almost on the green.
We'll be hearing about this on Wednesday in the next episode.
What do they say with the stocks? Past performance is no predictor of future performance?
Yeah, they also say blind squirrel finds nut, Tom.
That's true. I'm going to go find 1 or 2 over the course of 100 shots today. All right, appreciate you coming out. This was fun.
Awesome.
Great
day to be
little
out here.
guerrilla television here as we scramble together. We thank everybody who dropped by and joined us. We thank everybody from the David Ortiz Children Fund, the Negrillis who put this together, Jessica and Andrew, her husband. husband. It's an amazing story. Their daughter Avery was born with a heart defect. They found out, and by finding out more about her, they found out that the mom, Jessica, had the same heart defect and had been living with it. Both of their lives saved by the surgery. They could afford it. They realized how many people can't. Connected with David, and now we're in the 5th annual event here that has raised millions, over $3 million raised. $15,000 will allow a surgery to be performed. So go to David Ortiz childrensfund.org and find out more. But it's an amazing cause.
Life changing, right? This is a binary phenomenon where people live because of what these charitable causes do and because of the surgeries that they afford.
All right, we thank you for checking this out. Don't forget, we are live on Wednesday.
Oh boy,
10 a.m. at the Ford Clubhouse at Fenway Park. Our first ever live 1 hour, 3:10 to left. And when you and I met about an hour ago to talk about this week, neither one of us had any idea what we're going to do with that. So we've got a couple of days to figure that out. But are you nervous? You do live TV now all the time. You do live TV all the time.
I mean, this was the warm up, right? We're getting our guerrilla TV practice. So
that's right.
Chaos.
So make sure you check it out. I have no idea where you can check it out. I assume on Nesson. I think we're going to be live on Twitter, if that's a thing. Nesson Nation.
Could be YouTube
the
Live.
Nesson 360, the YouTube channel, Twitch. Have you ever been on Twitch?
No comment.
Even for a second.
No comment.
No, I've never.
No, never.
I wouldn't know how. Is it an app?
We're dating ourselves.
Is it Twitch.com?
Yeah.
What is Twitch?
It's
Other
out
than
there.
what I do when
It's out
like
there.
extra innings keep going.
Nervously when we do a live hour of 3:10 to left.
So watch us on Twitch. Wednesday morning live. Hope you can join us then. And thank you for checking out this edition of 310 to Left, presented by New England Ford Dealers and F-Series, the best-selling truck in America for how long?
48 years.
Here comes the anthem. We're going to leave right there. Thanks for checking us out. We'll see you next time.